The highly acclaimed Mortal Kombat 2D Trilogy had come to an end, and Midway had moved on to their next major installment, one that would head into a completely new dimension. However, before the leap into Mortal Kombat 4, the team had something different to unveil for long-time fans. In 1997, they released a console spin-off game titled Mortal Kombat Mythologies Sub-Zero that released for the Nintendo 64 and Sony PlayStation. This was the first entry to not be a one-on-one fighting game and not release in arcades. Mortal Kombat Mythologies is a 2.5D side-scrolling action-adventure game. It's 2.5D due to its backgrounds being rendered in full 3D, which was a first for the series, but its characters are 2D digitized sprites, much like the previous Mortal Kombat games. In fact, this would be the very last Mortal Kombat game to digitize actors for its in-game characters. Mythologies was developed by Avalanche Software, a game studio known today for their success with the recent Hogwarts Legacy. Mortal Kombat co-creator John Tobias and his team at Midway still overlooked the project, whilst the rest worked on Mortal Kombat 4. Mythologies takes place before even the very first Mortal Kombat, acting as a prologue to the series. The idea came around when creators Ed Boon and John Tobias thought about developing some of their characters' backstories a little further. They started with Sub-Zero, whom they both really enjoyed, and felt they could tie it in with their next main installment. They could test the waters with 3D computer graphics, with not only building all the environments in 3D, but also creating some of the game's boss characters out of polygonal models. For the game's cutscenes, the team filmed them all in live action, thanks to the new CD technology that the PlayStation provided. They used actors and digital sets to bring the cutscenes to life, with John Turk playing Sub-Zero, and Richard DeVizio, who played Baraka and Kano in the previous games, now playing Quan Chi. In Mythologies, you play solely as Sub-Zero, with this being set before the first Mortal Kombat. It is classic Sub-Zero we'll be playing as, with the game revealing his true identity as Bi-Han. If we remember, Bi-Han was killed by Scorpion in the first Mortal Kombat, so this game's idea was to flesh out the backstory surrounding that feud. It starts with Sub-Zero, an assassin and member of the Lin Kuei ninja clan, being given the mission to track down a map from a Shaolin temple. The Lin Kuei had been given the mission by a pale, malevolent sorcerer known as Quan Chi. The Shaolin Temple is the first level of the game, and where we'll get familiar with the game's new direction. In regards to its gameplay, Mortal Kombat Mythologies, despite being a different genre, still plays almost exactly like Mortal Kombat 3. Retaining the same 4-button fighting mechanics, block button and run feature. The only differences being that you're now moving through levels, and that for some odd reason you now have a button to change direction. This turn feature was heavily criticised for its needless inclusion. Another feature is the action button, which when pressed will allow Sub-Zero to pick up or use different items you'll find throughout the adventure, such as health packs to refill your vitality meter, and Sub-Zero's special moves also can't be used right from the beginning. Instead, you must unlock them by leveling up, which is done through collecting experience points by defeating enemies. You use these to unlock Sub-Zero's special moves, giving the game some light RPG systems. There's also an energy gauge to prevent overusage of his special moves. Now further into the temple, Sub-Zero meets a ninja from the rival clan, the Shirai Ryu, who has also been hired by Quan Chi. Sub-Zero kills the yellow ninja and returns to the Lin Kuei Grand Master with the map in hand. Delivering the map to Quan Chi, the sorcerer kills the rest of the Shirai Ryu to repay the Lin Kuei for their favour. Sub-Zero's second task now is to follow the map to find a special amulet that holds sentimental value to Quan Chi. Reaching the temple, Sub-Zero faces many challenges inside and even has to battle the 4 elemental gods that are protecting the amulet. They act as the next 4 boss battles: Fujin, the god of wind, the earth elemental, the water elemental, and finally the fire elemental. Once the amulet is retrieved, Quan Chi tricks Sub-Zero, taking it and exclaiming it is actually a source of power for the fallen elder god Shinnok, the same god that was hinted at through Noob Saibot's bio in Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3. Quan Chi opens a portal and goes to the Netherrealm with his new prize. Raiden shows up and blames Sub-Zero for what damage could be done if Quan Chi is not stopped. With Raiden not able to go to the Netherrealm, Sub-Zero is tasked to venture into the Netherrealm instead and defeat Quan Chi, starting the final chapter of the game. Travelling through the portal, we are now in Netherrealm, and outside of one of the stages from Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3, this is the first proper look we see of this realm. It has an industrial look to it, a contrast to the more hellish, demonic representation it has in the rest of the series, and it also has dinosaurs. Within the Netherrealm, Sub-Zero battles Quan Chi's henchwomen, the next 3 boss battles, Kia, Jataka, and Sarina. Sub-Zero then proceeds onto Quan Chi's fortress and battles the Trickster Sorcerer. Shinnok is the final boss and is defeated by stealing his amulet and then attacking him from behind. Sub-Zero temporarily defeats Shinnok and travels back to Earthrealm through a portal created by Raiden, giving the amulet to the Thunder God. Shinnok is stopped, for now. On his return to the Ling Kuei, Sub-Zero is wanted by another sorcerer, Shang Tsung, to compete in a fighting tournament called Mortal Kombat, leading into the first MK game. Mortal Kombat Mythologies Sub-Zero is notorious for its sharp, critical decline from the more positive reception received for the previous 3 Mortal Kombat games. IGN's coverage at the time stated that it may have been a good idea on paper, but as a game it's terrible. Next Generation stated that after fighting several cookie-cutter enemies and getting killed in unpredictable traps, even the most hardcore Mortal Kombat fans will find themselves frustrated and angry. Fans and critics alike enjoyed the transition of fighting game to action platformer and the game's live action cutscenes. However, the stiff controls, unintuitive platform mechanics, cheap deaths, unpolished level design, the repeated use of the same enemies, and slow response times all received strong criticism. In retrospect, many outlets regard Mythologies as one of the worst entries in the franchise, and at the time it was the poorest grossing Mortal Kombat game. Later in the same year of 1997, Midway released Mortal Kombat 4 in arcades, the series' first 3D one-on-one fighting game. Mortal Kombat 4 was the biggest change the series had seen in the main line of games. We now had fully 3D modelled characters, with digitised actors no longer being used, instead moving to computer animation and in some cases using motion capture technology to craft some of the moves. Mortal Kombat 4 follows the same rules and plays very similarly to the previous 3 games despite its new dimension. The run mechanic and chain combos from MK3 make their return, and despite the game being in 3D, the fight is still restricted to the 2D plane, except for sidestepping. Mortal Kombat 4 does introduce a weapon system allowing you to equip a weapon and use it in matches to slash, club and throw at your opponent. You can also drop your weapons to which your opponent can equip and use them. In addition to weapons, there's also some arena objects that you can also use to throw, such as rocks and severed heads. Other additions included a maximum damage cap, which would automatically end a combo if it dealt over a specific amount of damage. This was done to prevent infinite combos from being used. One of the main elements that the team wanted to work on was the game's violence and fatalities. With this new dimension, they wanted to do away with the comical finishers from MK2 and 3 and instead focus on creating more gruesome and entertaining fatalities. Finishers were enhanced by having multiple camera angle changes thanks to the 3D environments, and with no longer creating the finishers using digitized actors, the computer animation made the process much quicker and easier. Every character features 2 fatalities, and there are some good ones here, like Shinnok splatting his opponent with his giant skeletal hands, the return of Liu Kang's transformation into a dragon and eating his opponent but in 3D, Scorpion turning into a literal scorpion and using his pincer to tear his opponent in two, Fujin's gusts of wind that tear the flesh of his opponent, and there are also 2 stage fatalities, on in which you can throw your opponent into this large rotating fan, and another has you uppercut your opponent into a ceiling of spikes. Thousands of years ago, there was an elder god known as Shinnok, whose goal was to take over all of the realms for his own evil gains. Thankfully, he was stopped by the thunder god Raiden and was trapped within the Netherrealm. However, with the help of the sorcerer Quan Chi, Shinnok has managed to escape the Netherrealm and begin his conquest once more. Aided by the traitor to her homeland Tanya, Shinnok manages to take over the realm of Edenia, defeating Kitana. Now he sets his sights on Earthrealm. Raiden unites the defenders of Earthrealm once more in order to stop Shinnok's plans. Mortal Kombat 4's roster is totally different to that of Mortal Kombat Trilogy, as not every character returned. The roster consists of 8 returning characters and 7 new ones, with there being 2 hidden characters. Returning characters include the Thunder God Raiden, MK Champion and Shaolin Monk Liu Kang, Reptile, who now serves Shinnok in hopes to save his realm and appears for the first time in his pure reptilian form, the undead spectre Scorpion, who seeks revenge on Quan Chi for the murder of his family and clan, Special Forces members Jax and Sonya, who are both on the tail of a new Black Dragon member, the Hollywood star Johnny Cage, who aids the Earthrealm warriors against Shinnok, and lastly the former Lin Kuei assassin Sub-Zero. As for the new cast, we have Kai, another Shaolin monk and friend of Liu Kang, replacing Kung Lao's role in the series. Fujin, Raiden's ally and god of wind, the same god actually that we fought back in Mythologies, making this his first playable appearance. In Fujin's ending, it seems like he was supposed to replace Raiden as the main Earthrealm protector in subsequent games after. There's Jarek, the last member of the Black Dragon clan after Kano's supposed death in MK3. Jarek actually doesn't feel much different to Kano, having the same laser eye and heart tear-out fatality. Tanya, a yellow female ninja who is a traitor to her own world of Edenia, assisting Shinnok to capture it. Reiko, a outworld assassin and Shinnok's general of his armies. Quan Chi, the evil sorcerer from the Netherrealm that aided in Shinnok's plan of escape. He first appeared in the TV series Mortal Kombat Defenders of the Realms, and then appeared as the antagonist in Mythologies, MK4 thus being his first playable appearance. And then there's Shinnok, the final boss of Mythologies, and now coming back as the main antagonist and playable character of MK4. As you play through the arcade mode, Goro returns as the sub-boss, much like the first Mortal Kombat, and Shinnok is the final battle, although significantly less troublesome than Shao Kahn in terms of difficulty. For the first time, some characters now had alternate costumes. Some were callbacks to previous games, such as Raiden with his MK2 attire, and Reptile with his ninja outfit. And then there were some completely new attires, like Johnny Cage's tuxedo and Scorpion's grey outfit with his skull exposed. There were also 2 hidden characters that could be unlocked, the Black Ninja and Shinnok follower Noob Saibot, and a costume change called Meat. Meat is the 3D model created by arts director Tony Goski, which is used when a character in the game gets skinned. However, the team felt it would be a fun hidden character. It essentially changes the character you've chosen into the skinned model, however it is recognised as a different character. Completing a character's arcade ladder presented you again with an ending, however this time they were fully animated with voiceovers for the characters. They are infamous today for their choppy animations, phoned-in voice acting, and comedic writing.
You can't drop me. You have to uphold the law. You have to arrest me. Wait, this is brutality. You can't do it.
Wrong, Jarek. This is not a brutality. This is a fatality.
Once more, Liu Kang saves the realms and defeats Shinnok, bringing an end to the fallen god's evil schemes. Not only does Liu Kang save Earthrealm, but also Kitana's realm of Edenia. Kitana thanks Liu Kang and offers him the position of King of Edenia at her side, but he turns down the role, wanting to stay in Earthrealm and be the champion of Mortal Kombat. Kitana wishes him the best of luck, and farewell. Mortal Kombat 4 was the last Mortal Kombat to ever see an arcade release. It was later ported to the PlayStation, Nintendo 64, PC and Game Boy Color a year later in 1998. The Nintendo 64 version featured reduced polygon counts to run the game at a consistent 60 frames per second, whereas the Game Boy Color version was the only port of Mortal Kombat 4 in 2D. It features only 9 of the playable characters, no chain combo system, and the weapon mechanic was also removed. The Game Boy Color port was the worst received, with many calling it poorly designed, unresponsive, and limiting. Ultimately, Mortal Kombat 4 couldn't reach the heights of its predecessors. It received mixed to positive reviews when it released, with many players not finding it any more entertaining than the first 3 titles. Most outlets concluded that while not greatly innovating, the new characters, weapon system and foreboding atmosphere were welcome additions to the franchise and made it worth playing. Next Generation magazine specifically called MK4 unoriginal and average, but still rewarding and a guilty pleasure. In 1999, Mortal Kombat 4 received a special port called Mortal Kombat Gold, which released as a launch title exclusively for Sega's new console, the Dreamcast. This updated version features several additional characters, new stages, and a weapon select mechanic. There were a total of 6 returning new characters on the roster. They consisted of female ninjas, Kitana and Mileena, Mileena of whom has been revived by Shinnok and has a thirst of revenge against Kitana, cyber ninjas Sector and Cyrax, Cyrax of whom gets his humanity restored by Jax and Sonya, Shaolin monk Kung Lao, who actually hadn't died during MK3 and is back to end his ancestors' feud with Goro, and lastly Baraka, who is now serving Quan Chi and Shinnok after Shao Kahn's fall from power. The initial release of MK Gold featured so many bugs and memory save issues that there had to be a revised version of the game released months later, identified by having a red disc and a Hot New logo printed on the cover of the instruction manual. Mortal Kombat Gold received some poor reception when it released for its buggy launch state and its tough competition against other 3D weapons based fighting game Soul Calibur, to which MK Gold just couldn't hold a candle to it. From its less than appealing graphics to its uninteresting weapons system, most critical scores of MK Gold at the time sat around the 5 out of 10 mark. After Mortal Kombat 4, the team at Midway went back to the drawing board, writing up new ideas for their next entry, whilst in the meantime revisiting their plans for more spin-off action-adventure titles. After Mythologies Sub-Zero, there was always plans to make more side adventures for other characters to broaden the Mortal Kombat universe, and the next one that got picked was Mortal Kombat Special Forces. This game is notorious for its rocky development, which even led to co-creator of Mortal Kombat John Tobias and a few other staff leaving the company. Special Forces was rushed to release in 2000, exclusively for the Sony PlayStation. Mortal Kombat Special Forces is a 3D beat-em-up game, which has you playing solely as Jax Briggs from a third-person perspective, who is tracking down members of the Black Dragon. You travel through the game's 5 linear levels and battle enemies with hand-to-hand combat and also ranged weaponry. featuring a machine gun, sniper rifle and shotgun, and a rocket launcher and grenade launcher. There's also a few light puzzles to solve that are as simple as finding keys to unlock doors, blowing up walls with explosives to find secret passages, and moving blocks to reach new areas. The focus was clearly placed on the combat, with Jax having new combos to unlock through collecting experience points by defeating enemies, in a very similar fashion to Mythologies' leveling system. Jax also has limited health and can heal by using any of your collected first aid kits from your inventory menu. You're given mission info by your radio operator known as Gemini, another Special Forces member who shows a lot of care for Jax, this being her only appearance to date. There were plans for Sonya Blade to appear as a second playable character, however these plans were scrapped when half of the staff left the company. The story of Special Forces takes place even before Mythologies, making it chronologically the first entry in the series. Kano has broken out of prison with a number of fellow Black Dragon members, including Mortal Kombat 4's Jarek. Jax Briggs is sent by the Special Forces to track down the members and recapture them. There's 5 levels to go through, each ending with a boss fight against one of the Black Dragon members. What was a little confusing is Jax already has his bionic arm implants in Special Forces, which is set before MK2, so I imagine he must be able to take them off, revealing his real arms underneath. At the end of the first level you battle No Face, a Black Dragon member who has no nose, ears, hair and a scorched white face. He wears a vest full of dynamite and is equipped with a flamethrower. He's easy when you just run around his flamethrower attack, get behind him and plant a lot of powerful combos. The second level ends with the battle against Tasia. An expert in the art of sword fighting, she wields 2 ninjato swords and also has the ability to turn invisible. Luckily she lets off a fog when she does so, giving away her position fairly easily. The third boss is Jarek, who is also easy to just get him pinned in a corner and wail on him with combos. The next level you travel to Xinjiang in northwest China, chasing Kano and his final henchman. This level is infamous for having enemies beyond the game's view distance that can still fire and hit you. The boss of this level is Tremor, a brown ninja who has elemental abilities, allowing him to create earthquakes and manipulate rocks. The solution is as simple as avoiding his elemental attacks and wail on him with more combos. Tremor was guarding a portal to Outworld, to which Kano has gone through hoping to collect an artifact known as the Eye of Chitan, an ancient crystal that has the power to create interdimensional gateways. Jax travels through the portal to Outworld hot on Kano's trail. Outworld looks very different in this game, consisting of floating brick platforms in a void black space. Nothing like what it first appeared to be like in MK2 and MK3. Kano is the 5th and final boss. Jax returns through the portal with Kano and the crystal in hand. And the credits roll. Mortal Kombat Special Forces received some of the poorest reception in the whole franchise, many even calling it one of the worst video games to release, with Games Radar listing it at 41 in their 100 worst games of all time list in 2013. Blake Fisher, a writer at outlet Next Gen, said that Special Forces isn't even worth a trip to the store, and you can tell it was phoned in for release. In just a few short years, Mortal Kombat went from being an ultra-violence giant, with some of the largest marketing campaigns and sales that the industry had seen at the time, to plummeting to an average reputation, with Special Forces having the lowest sales the series had ever seen. Players were moving on to other deeper fighting games, critics had seen 3D action become commonplace, and Mortal Kombat 4 just wasn't able to catch up to what Capcom, Namco and Tecmo were bringing to the table. After Special Forces, the Mortal Kombat series was put on hold by Midway. Had the reign of Mortal Kombat come to a miserable end?